Welcome to another episode of the Next Fix podcast. I'm here with my good friend Kelli, and she's going to share with us what we want to hear. We want to hear the comeback story and success stories, as I was just mentioning and explaining to Kelli, success stories are cool, but man, the emotional driven tales that I think we all really want is the comeback story. And so she's going to share hers with us today. Kelli, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Right, yeah. And so you kind of called me Brian there, but check it out. I came from a poor family. We couldn't afford all those letters. That's my bad. That's my bad joke for
my nervousness coming out. So that's
yeah. That's all right. That's all right. Hopefully, my terrible jokes will also curb your nervousness to show that, hey, I'm just a knucklehead over here running his mouth. So
okay. Fair enough.
So Kelli, let us know, like I had mentioned, my audience, we like to know, we want to know about the struggle before the good. We want to know about what about your life gave you the signs or told you that, hey, things need to change and it wasn't so good, whether that be rock bottom or, wherever you found yourself that you're thinking oh shit, I got to make a move here. We want to know about those times.
Yeah, well, my background, I grew up, and I didn't know it, in a family that used alcohol way too often. I would see bottles of rye on the kitchen table at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I noticed relatives getting kind of wonky and not wanting to be around them because I saw them as mean. So when I was in high school, when I was in college, when I was in law school, I never drank, never used anything because of my past, and seeing it. I even had my dad pass away when I was first year law school, and the thought of using never occurred. So what happened, right? So what happened is I got married to somebody that was just like what I'd grown up with, using and abusing alcohol. And we started having a family. I had 3 young kids, ages 2, 4, and 8. I was working, and we had a big shift in a corporation. And because, I was always the go-to person, always responsible, I started coming home. And to relax, release, I'd have a glass of wine. Then I'd have 2 or 3 glasses of wine. And this started in 1998. And I can remember waking up and needing a glass of wine in order to get through the day. My drinking got so bad that I would have liquid lunches. I was telling myself I'm fine. But I was working 80 plus hours a week. I had 4 different corporate jobs. And I was resentful because they had consolidated, and instead of paying me for each of these jobs that they had been doing with previous people, I had one. My boss was never around to be able to deal with it. So I knew this wasn't good. But I was the main breadwinner in my family, and I never until later put the connection between my husband's drinking and my drinking, right? Because I was blaming him for all the problems, not taking responsibility for myself. That came later, right? So the struggle was, I am waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, answering emails, trying to get 3 little kids off to daycare, dealing with people at work. And I'm like, I really don't care that your dog is not feeling good. I just had no empathy, nothing. And so it turned out the CEO of our company had sent an email out to the rest of the people. I was supervising about 170 people at the time. So, we're talking big job, right? Mm-hmm. And what happened is he congratulated me for doing something that the company hadn't done and been able to do in 4 years. And it was mailing out this tape. Well, the mail room got offended because they had mailed the tape out and they weren't recognized. So their boss asked me if I could make them brownies and bring in ice cream to moral support for the staff. And it's my birthday, August. It was August 1st. It was my birthday, and I did it because I'm a nice person. And when I'm making those brownies, something inside of me snapped. It's like I don't even have time to make brownies for my 2-year-old, my 4-year-old, and my 8-year-old, right? And
Right.
so I got drunk, I went into work, and I quit. I said, I'm done, because there was something else inside of me, Ryan, that was saying, life is more than this. I came home and I told my husband I quit. And of course, panic struck. Because how are the bills going to get paid? How is anything going to happen? I had no idea. I
Right.
didn't. But I knew this direction was the wrong one. So I went to some AA meetings thinking this is what I needed to do. And in those meetings, I heard great stories, so I don't want any of your listeners to think I'm bashing AA, but it didn't resonate with me. And the reason why is because since I've been 12, I've been reading tarot cards. I'm a metaphysical, spiritual person.
Okay.
And none of those ideas were helping me. So what happened is I took the big book and I started reading, and instead Spirit would download, this is what you need to do, which is, I can explain later, how I maintain and do what I do. So after I quit, I am knowing that Spirit's going to give me a sign. There's some sign that's going to happen. Sure enough, I went on unemployment for 6 months. And after I went on unemployment, I get a job. And I get a job offered on a Sunday. Like, that never happens. So I knew that was Spirit. And so I took the job, and it was a legal job because I was licensed in New York, not Colorado. Never wanted to practice law. It was a deathbed promise I made to my dad to finish, right? So I went corporate because it's like, no, I don't want to do the law stuff. So what happened is it was in a law firm helping the Quest case. Well, while I'm there doing this temp job, because they happen to need a New York lawyer, like, how do you find one in Colorado? I just happened to be there, right? And that was Spirit working. Well, I'm driving down the road and I hear Spirit tell me, I want you to take the Colorado bar. And I told Spirit, I will, but you have to give me the answers because it's been 17 years. So I made a deal, right?
I feel like it's a fair deal.
I thought it was a fair deal too. So
You're like, sure, I will take the test if you tell me what to answer.
yeah, that's what I did. And so I go, I sit for the Colorado bar. The very first question, Ryan, was the Quest case. And it went from there, every single one, and I passed. And I thought, well, now what do you want me to do? And it turned out, this was back in the day when you found jobs in newspapers. Remember, we're talking 2001, 2002. So
right.
I find a job in the newspaper that's advertising for people to be an attorney to represent abused and neglected kids. So I was a mom, so I thought I'll apply, because that's the direction Spirit was leading. And so what occurred was I got that job and I opened up my own law practice. And so I started with representing abused and neglected kids. I found out about human trafficking in 2005 before anybody else really, it wasn't even a federal law. And
Right.
it just keeps opening up doors. So I'm a family law attorney practicing still, right? Helping people because most of the time it's either a financial issue or it's a substance abuse issue, that they're dealing with. And in that whole process, Spirit downloaded a book to me, which was back in like 2011. And it was called Sidestepping the 12 Steps. And so it just laid out all the principles that I had been using to get from where I was in that corporate job to where I am now running two businesses.
So just to rewind a little bit specifically about because I feel like there's like a bit of a gap there. Like you went to AA, it didn't resonate, and I feel you on that. Like it wasn't it wasn't a large part of my journey either. And I don't take anything away, much like yourself, because it's a massive success for so many people. What a blessing, and it's so great. Just not for me, and that's fine. And so, in your unique journey, it incorporates spirit clearly.
Yeah.
But was it really that seamless? Like, for instance, if you got drunk and went to work and quit your job, I feel like I feel like I'm missing some elements of the substance. Well, let me ask you this: like, how did you continue to drink? And if you did, how long did that last? And then when did you say that this is like an issue or it's holding me back or something like that?
I think when I got drunk and I quit my job, I think the fear set in that fear of I know I need to provide for my kids. I didn't drink.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Fear, I didn't drink because it was like I need to focus. During the first few years, what happened is I was building what AA would call resentment against my husband, which is the other part of the story, right? Because he would continue to drink in the same manner and fashion, and I was still not doing it. And I was thinking, because I'm not, you shouldn't either, right? And putting my beliefs on him. So around 2005, he quit his job and stayed in our basement and drank all day.
Oh, wow.
And what happened in 2007 was marriage was breaking up, wasn't doing good, right? I had it. And so we have a huge argument. And he throws me into a TV set. So I have to then call the police. To make that phone call, that's when I had some wine. The next time I had wine. The police come because I had been drinking. They arrest me and not him.
Wow.
And because of that incident, I said, never again. Right? Never again. And
so that put the stamp on it, and it will, right? Like, and how that unfolded again. I'm with you. I'm on board with spirit. Yeah. Like, you had to go to jail that night. You had to. That was your solution, and you didn't see it being that by a long shot. Like, you're like, oh, I'm sending his ass to jail, and this is and then it's like, oh yeah, and many times I find spirit, the universe, God, like, has that unique way of like, oh, you were so sure that this was going to happen next.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not. Yep. It's not what's happening next. You're going to jail, but you're also never going to drink again. So it's like, it's what you needed, and that's a hidden blessing.
Right.
And
that's
so that
was it, But yeah, so it was a process, and it was all those years of not dealing with the accountability, because you'd hear in AA, you can't stay with somebody who's drinking. I challenged that because I did. I'm still married to my husband.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't foresee that. I didn't foresee that being a result. I hadn't gotten there in my own mind yet, but well, that's a blessing.
Like, yeah, yeah, but still am, because everybody has a choice. I had a choice, you know, and I could have handled things a lot better than I did. And that's what people, you know, my message is everybody has a choice, you know, and nobody can force you to drink. You know, that's your choice because you're not choosing to grow spiritually.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and that was the situation when I had the corporate job, you know, and it goes back to the spiritual principles, you know, that I kind of deal with. And one of them is this definition. I'm big on definitions and the law of being, which is I am. That's what couldn't resonate with me in any AA meetings, because your mind thinks in pictures. And when I think of an alcoholic or I think of a drug addict, I see a bum under a bridge, or I see homeless in homeless encampments. And that is a negative self-image that you're enforcing. You know, and I've had many conversations with psychiatrists, and they actually agree with me. And I say it's not a matter of denial, it's a matter of definition. How do you define yourself? And that is the journey Spirit took me on from 2001 to like 2007, because 7 is when the getting thrown into the TV set happened.
Right. And when you say that the mind, it functions in imagery, mm-hmm. and I just had a really great conversation the other day about the mind can't see not. It can't translate the word not. So it's like, you know, don't think about drinking. You know, it's like, and I was actually, I flipped around. I'm like, don't worry about rent this month. What is somebody, even if they're financially secure enough to make rent, they're thinking about, well, when is rent due? Is it due now? Why would he say that? Well, now they're thinking about rent. Like you can't say, don't think this, or don't let that, you know, I'm not this. It's like the mind doesn't have that ability to disassociate. Like, oh, well, you said not first. It's almost like, if, you know, like in your conversation and you say, with all due respect, it's like, you know, like whatever the hell comes next is not good. It's like, and so like you can't use that on your mind. You can't say you are not this. It only sees this. The word not's like non-existent. So that notion that our minds only work in imagery and only sees in pictures or narratives is like, yep. It's a very useful tactic. And now, speaking of tactics, well, maybe not tactics. It may not be the best description for tarot cards. I don't know anything about them, clearly. But so, and you started using them or learning about them, experiencing the process at a young age, I believe. And so like, tell us about that. Like, how was that? Because in my mind, like you were saying, like you see an alcoholic, you see a bum under the bridge. When I think tarot cards, I think like gypsy with the dress and like the cards and like the glowing globe. Forgive me. It's a very ignorant image, but that's like what I see. So like, help enlighten me.
Yeah. Well, I think you know, I don't know how the cards came to me, but they did. I lived in a small town when I was 12. But the first 22 cards of a tarot deck are pictures, and they tell the story of the hero's journey. And so people like Carl Jung used tarot cards in the imagery. Joseph Campbell wrote a whole book about the hero's journey, and it's all based on these 22 major archetypes. Why did the tarot help? Because I'd pull a card and I'd say, where am I on this journey? You know?
Right, okay.
And the first card is like the magician. And that's somebody that wields power, but they can do it positively or negatively, right? Which way am I going? You have the strength card, which deals with making it through challenges because of your inner resources. I drew on that a lot. What inner resources do I have that I don't know about? And I found 6 of them that you can use. And so that is part of the process. There's a time to rest. That's in the tarot. There's a time to move forward. There's a time to take action, but making sure you've got it lined up with goals and values. There's a line that says iron sharpens iron. That's in the Bible. And sometimes it's having those difficult conversations. And sometimes those conversations are with yourself. Most times we tend to think of it as with other people, right? But we need to have those with ourselves. To ask yourself, why? Why are you doing this? What's the underlying belief? Do you really think that doing A is going to get you B? And then taking a different perspective and saying there could be another path. And the first 22 cards of that tarot deck can really help people solidify and gain resources. So when I say I used the tarot deck, I knew all of that when 2001. So I would draw cards, for the week. What do I need to focus on? What energy do I need to deal with so I can move forward? So my goal wasn't getting sober. That has never been a goal. My goal has always been, how do I move forward? How do I align with my values? Because for me, sober, you can define it different ways, but it's limited. And I want to live life fully. So I go beyond. If that
right. So you've said a couple times the first 22 cards. How many cards are there?
78.
78.
So the first 22 are called Major Arcana, and they describe the fool's journey throughout life. The next set of cards are what we've known as playing cards. So you have 4 suits with ace through king. And those cards have different energy, but they're not as life-shifting as, say, the Major Arcana. Yep.
Man, I am like fascinated. I feel like this is such a very deep subject. I don't want to get like too far down the hole. Yes. So, all right. So spirit is a big part, and it's what had gotten you through the transition out of corporate America, and still in a relationship through trials and tribulations in that relationship, which I commend you on that. I'm new in my relationship, so I have got a lot to learn. And so these types of stories help me out quite a bit. And so, all right. Now, and currently, so what are you currently doing? Like what does life look like for you now? Like, because forgive me if maybe I had forgotten some part there. You started a law firm in Colorado?
Yeah, I still have it. Yep. And
you still have that. But now I suspect that there's more of this, because I don't see like spirit getting brought up in courtrooms or anything like that too often and getting away with it. So like how do these worlds combine for you, Kelli? Like what is this amalgamation of Kelli these days involving all of these really cool and high level areas of your life?
Yep. I think that the easiest way to explain it is what people don't realize is it's all law. You have spiritual law, you have man-made law. It's how you apply it that makes all the difference. That stop sign was there. Too bad. You're going to get it, right? It's all the same. And I think that's why, for me, it's very easy. I have my law practice, and I help people that are dealing with relationship issues, divorce, kids, child custody, stuff like that. I also, because of the law and the ethics rules, you can't cross-pollinate. So it means I have to create another business to help people that aren't, dealing with the legal system, but they're dealing with other issues in their life, which is the holistic coaching and the tarot. And what's fascinating is that spirit shows up in court an awful lot. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Yeah.
Right. And now, I believe that. I believe in that. I believe the spirit is there. Like, it's just, like, you probably couldn't get very far if you started referencing that, like, in a litigious scenario. You're like, no, I'm rather certain that this person deserves their X, Y, and Z because spirit just let me know.
Right. No, what spirit will do is they'll say, ask this question. Because what spirits told me is that the quality of your questions determines the direction of your life.
Of course, yeah.
For example, it's one, you mentioned rent. It's one question to ask, how am I going to pay rent this month? Or, how am I going to pay rent this month while I spend 2 weeks in France?
Right. And I love that. I love that the reframing, the repositioning ourselves it's such a powerful approach to everything, really, because I'm a firm believer that, like, all circumstances can either be a victory or an opportunity for a lesson or a loss, if you will, right? Like, so it's always about that framing, and I think that wording our questions well or better than we do now can be an advantage. And so that's awesome stuff. And I love that your life now, it's, you mentioned you can't cross-pollinate them. However, I suspect that you'll agree with me. It's all, this whole damn thing, it's all intertwined and it's all commingled. And so how the advantages of understanding, that spirit is a part of all of the elements of our life is like it's a big deal, and that's really cool that you're being able to apply and live in both. You know what I mean? Because there's so many people. It's hard to grasp for people that aren't familiar. Some of the approaches that you're mentioning. Like I'm ignorant when it comes to tarot cards. Mm-hmm. But when you explain that as like a representation of the hero cycle up until the 22nd card, and then from therefore, it's very intriguing to me that playing cards are the next series, because playing cards it's a very old, I don't want to say tool, but like they've been around. And so like there's some kind of a power in them. Why the hell would they be around for so long? Why would they be referenced? And why would they be like, involved with so many different cultures? And so anyway, so when you're mentioning this to me, like it makes a lot of sense. However, I can see where if a person weren't quite so open to the thoughts of the commingling of all of the different realms of our lives, like what would you say to a person that like a non-believer, like they're like tarot cards, like get the hell out of here, like what are you talking about? Like what would be your approach to somebody that had that opinion?
That's a good question, Ryan. I think it depends on how they came at it. If they're more agnostic, atheistic, I'd probably point them to sacred geometry and explain the patterns, right? Because it doesn't make, after a certain point in time, it's mathematically impossible that you could have the same phi number used over very strong Bible believers. And yet, in the Bible, you have prophets, you have Jesus saying the one thing to do is believe. That is thinking. It's not doing. Thinking comes before doing, which ties into what I call the results formula, not your thoughts. So you have to go back to what you're thinking. So any holy book you look at tells you to start there. And
right.
So it's all there. It just depends on how you want to view it, your interpretation.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. And I think that you're right. It depends on where they're coming from. And you pointed out two really good examples. It's like for people that are like the Bible, that's it. This is it. Like, you get those cards away from me because they're not in this Bible. And so therefore these pages is what I am. And that's great. Like I respect that. But that would be an entirely different approach than somebody who's like just a non-believer in anything. And then usually, and you're very, very wise, right? Because usually those people will look at math. They're like, oh, okay, science, I'll buy that, So that's both. That is a very, very cool way to answer that question. And then that's very, very cool. And so I want to know, and I know our people want to know, because so what does it look like to work with you? Or what projects do you have in the near future? What's on the horizon for you, Kelli? And what can we expect to see out of all these beautiful realms that you operate in?
Right. Well, let's hope they don't have to call me for legal. So my other business is
right.
Right. How to live life fully. And so you can find me on the internet. It's www.livelifefully.net. And I offer a free 30-minute, 60-minute, depends on what people want. I call them a strategy session. Because as you can tell, there's many different paths and things. I offer tarot readings, and those you can do a standalone, or you can include that in your coaching. I offer mentorship, which is one-on-one programs for people. I also offer certain packaged programs, for different folks. I've got like 5 or 6 different packages that I offer. And I think, the biggest thing is I like working with people one-on-one. So I'm not a
right.
Statements, because you can expand that so much, Ryan, and expand your definitions, like what is success? It looks different to everybody, right? What is, what's career? Because that is shifting in society. Back with my parents, it was the 9-to-5, 40-hour work week. But, career can be redefined.
Big difference, yeah.
You can use, I call it perception. You called it frame of reference. How you use perception to change your view on things. There's memory. And people don't realize you can tap into memories that are positive to move you forward rather than to your demise. And just remembering stuff you wish you could forget, right?
Right.
There's all different packages. So, different fleeces to make sure that's God's will for you, right? Other times people are like, look, I need like 4 weeks. Or I just want to have a coach for a year. It doesn't have to be just the CEOs that have coaches. That's why they have coaches. Is because they're looking for a different perspective, and they realize more information is better, right? And a lot of people don't want to invest in themselves.
It's true. Right? It's 100% true. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a lot. It's all very exciting. I love everything that you got going on. And then it's like, I also like the other element, like, you're helping people in a very, in the litigious way too. And like you said, you don't want people really ringing that phone. You'd rather have them ringing for enlightenment. But that's what we're about here on the Next Fix, is that enlightenment, that next level, that next step in the better selves, the reinvented selves, if you will. And so, that's awesome. So, I'm going to outline everything for the audience to see. So it's all in print, very easy and clickable. But yeah, Kelli, I really appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate your time. And so this has been another episode of The Next Fix, guys. We'll see you on the next one.